Not gonna string for very long. Just gonna continue to work on the stuff that I'm trying to do. Next thing that I'm trying to do now is to create a pop-up that's gonna change the tab visibility, because I think that's gonna be very useful. And I realized that, like, why not try to do this? Depending on how hard it's gonna be, obviously. So I'm gonna just, I've been doing the beginning, and I'm gonna try to finish now. So the idea is to be able to, the idea that I have on my mind is a pop-up that has checkboxes with the, if the checkbox is marked, it means that the tabs of the dock are visible. So it allows you to uncheck and check whatever box you want to make the visibility of the dock to change. And that's very useful for, I think, for example, like the terminal dock or like stuff like that where I don't want the, in some situations it might be better to leave the dock visibility or leave the tabs as visible, but I think that it might be annoying in some other situations. So hopefully it's not that difficult to implement. I've been trying to do the beginning here, but I haven't tested anything. But I'm gonna create another signal in the navbar, and I created this function here already. Well, the other thing that I decided to do was to move the stuff to this class here. And I'm still debating some like nuances of this, but I think that's better to move things here to this class, because there isn't a reason to move the other parts of the layout that are not flexible to this thing here. Well, I was thinking about whether or not to change this name, but the way that I'm thinking about it now is that I'm gonna have this layout. I was thinking about changing to layout flexible root, which is the roots of the part of the layout that is the docs, along with the split containers. And then the other parts of the scene are going to be like fixed parts of the scene. But I think that from now, I'm thinking that's probably better to make them as part of the layout, because it's easier and better to integrate with the drag and drop logic, and maybe in the future integrate signals between the different things. And then the main difference between the different scenes are going to be what you put on the dock and the different layouts you can have. So it's going to be basically a composition between different navbars and different layout routes, and maybe some additional parts like the icon sidebar. Well, that's another thing that I want to do, but I think I'm gonna try to do this later. I'm not sure if that's this part is worth trying, but is the drag and drop of the icon sidebar. I think that eventually is worth trying, but it might be annoying to figure out like how to know when you can drop the icon sidebar and when you can't, because I want to allow it to move from one side to the other, obviously. But I think I'm not gonna couple with the other stuff, because it's just better to have the flexibility to be able to change docs whenever you want. And then the other thing I'm gonna have to do is to save everything. But I'm not really sure if I should, because like I'm more interested or more curious about the implementation of the other classes or other components to like complete the beginning of the scene. And I think that's what I should do probably after. And then once I complete all the nodes that are going to be part of the scene, then I can go back, because the way to think about it in my mind is like everything else is just a cycle. So I think I want to finish the cycle first, and then once I finish, I think about the whole process again, and then it's just like about looping. So what I was doing here is I created this class here, and then I'm adding in the same way that I was doing this class, which is just a pop-up think I'm gonna copy from the other one, and I'm gonna. So I was thinking about the signals. What is the best way to send the signals? Yeah, the problem is that I can't. It's gonna have to be a dictionary, I think. Just kind of annoying. Maybe there's an easier way to do this. So I think that probably the easiest way. I'm not sure if we can send a vector though. This is the issue with signals, that you have to like make the thing a variant to send the information. I asked ChatGPT what it thinks is better, to put create an instance of the class on the pop-up, or to send a signal, and it said signal, which I also think that it feels easier to make it as a signal, because it couples the thing less. But the problem with the signal is like that you are limited on the information. I think it would be better to pass a hash map. So like to call a function with passing a hash map of the, because on this one, on the one that creates the pop-up, which is going to be this one, I'm going to pass the hash map, which is what I'm doing there, because I think that's better. Also changed the tab container. I was able to finish everything. And I realized that there was a mistake, and that I was trying to figure out on the tab container, and the reason why is because on the tab container, they override the function from the control, I think, which is the function that determines the minimum size of the components. And this is another thing that I realized, and I'm not really sure why I didn't realize this before. It's not on the tab container, it's the tab bar that overrides it's this function here, basically. I basically copied a couple of functions, and then I just recreated the drawing logic for the tab, and then I just made it based on a member variable that I added, which is this. So I put this logic of has the placeholder tab, and then I just change what it does on the places that it would be empty tabs. And the reason why is because I didn't have this. So like when I was trying to drag and drop, it was looking for the drag and drop events on the tab container class instead of the tab bar. And for that reason, it was showing the icon that the drop is not available in that location. And then I realized that because when you override this function on a class that inherits from control, it allows you to determine where Godot's going to think that is the space of the class, let's say. Because on the viewport cycle, Godot has functions that are going to check if the point is, where the point is located. So it saves, I think it's a vector or some data structure of the root nodes of the scene, and root control nodes, I think. And then it loops over the root controls, and then it basically does recursion, and then checks for the points to see where the event was triggered. And then I believe that it uses the get minimum size. I didn't quite see everything, like the full connection between the minimum size, but I think it's pretty much that. It's the has function on the control node, I think. So you call the control, then .has, and then pass the point. And then it's going to check to see, I think it's on the control. It's going to check to see if the point is inside of the node or not. And that's basically what determines whether or not the viewport is going to call the function from the class. It's going to see if that class that the point happened has the functions defined of the drag and drop cycle. And if it does, then it's going to call the function from the class. So because I didn't change the functionality of this, it thought that it didn't have the tabs because the tabs bar was empty. So I had to add this thing here to update the value based on this, which is the new, it's the rectangle that is the size of the placeholder tab. So this is the thing that I didn't realize before, and I don't know why, but like the first segment is the object that is going to trigger the event. So yeah, here is just triggering, it's just setting up the tab bar to have the event and not the tab container. So it's only going to trigger the events if the mouse is anywhere on the tab bar place, which is determined by the minimum size. But then after I added this, it started working, and yeah. Not sure what's the best way to search for this. I guess whatever. Maybe I shouldn't spend time on this. Because I don't remember the arguments for sure. But I think it has something. Oh, doesn't have here. Maybe on the viewport. I think the viewport is gets control something. It's basically this functions here that's gonna call on the drop. So it calls can drop data, just see if you can drop or not. And then it calls this one. But only if the control has it. I forgot the name of the function. You find control, I think this is the one. So it's basically, I think this one is gonna be a recursion. Yes, has point is the name of the function. So based on this operation here, it's gonna see if the control has or not. And this is a function from the control. So this is something that I don't like from Godot since the beginning, but they talk about this on the documentation as well, that it can be confusing to learn first, but then it makes sense. But to be honest, I didn't like that much the way that it is, the calculations, because the way that they created the classes feels kind of weird to me. But they use this transform 2D or transform 3D and the other classes, and they have these functions where they do the cross product and dot product on the classes, and then on some situations they initialize one class with by initializing another and passing that one into the other one constructor, basically like here. And it's just kind of confusing for me to understand how it works. Yeah, but it's basically just gonna use this thing here to check to see whether or not the event is inside of the control or not, and then it just traverses the tree from the root controls that it saves on the viewport. So if you want the type container to capture events, also you have to use this macro, and then you have to put this on the first argument, basically. But I don't see a point because I thought that this would allow me to drag and drop in the middle of the type containers, but as far as I know now, is not the case because you still need to add the macro on whatever control you're gonna put inside of the type container, because it's gonna check for that control whenever the type container has it. It only checks for the type container if the type container doesn't have any children, which makes this kind of useless. So I guess not useless, I could put there, but I think that doesn't make sense now. Maybe in the future I'll do this. So here, the way that I'm thinking about this, maybe I should do the navbar first. But basically I'm creating this hash map, and then I'm looping over the docs. Then I save the name of the doc and whether or not it's visible, which is basically calling this function. I forgot to put this here. And then I'm gonna send this as an argument to the TabVisibilityPopup. Probably do the same loop on there. And that's the thing this is the first loop to initialize the state, I think. I have to create the elements, so create the checkboxes based on whether or not they are open or are visible. Then I'm gonna create another function here, and it's going to be I'm gonna have to, yeah, I'm gonna call a signal, I think, from the put the callback on the pop-up for the signal, the standard signal that the confirmation dialog has. And on that function, I'm gonna emit another signal, I think. Then I have to find the best data structure and the easiest one to send the information. I think it's probably gonna be a dictionary. I think I should do a dictionary, probably. Dictionary is kind of annoying because of the way that you look. Maybe there's the way that I was thinking about is to only send the like if I only send the names or the names of the docs that were changed, then I would still need to create a vector, I think. Maybe you can send based on a vector of strings. Because then I can create a function that based on that vector it just loops over, gets a null based on the name, and then just basically flips, so it sets based on the opposite of the state that it has. I think that's probably better. Yeah, but the issue is like if they check and uncheck, then it fails. So I think that should be a dictionary. Dictionary is more reliable. So I can just do a boolean, which reflects whether or not they are visible. Then I just loop over again, and then I set. I think that's probably better. So I'm gonna create an option here. So actually, that should be a dictionary. Maybe change. So. Every time we add a signal on Godot to a class, use this macro here. And then just use this method info, and then it subscribes the signal into the class. Then you can use the emit signal to emit the signal. And if you want to pass arguments, you use the property info. Property info is a class that they have to serialize or to hold the state of properties using the variant class. So it allows you to translate the types based on the variant. And if you want to connect in the way that I'm doing here, because I'm creating from C++ and then it writes to the sync file, and then from the sync file is going to be loaded either on the editor or the application later. You use this connect persist flag here, and then save the signal on the sync file. This is basic, but then if you do like this, the way that I'm doing here, you have to use this callable here, because the only way that it allows you to put the name of the function instead of a pointer. So to serialize, that's the at least that I found. I couldn't make it with the callable MP macro that they usually use on other functions and classes. Okay, so this is gonna call, when I select the value in the menu there, is gonna make this class call this function, which is gonna call the other one. So now I have to see on this one. What you do here. I think I should do the same thing. Actually, I should copy the type from here. This key value class is a class that they created to allow you to iterate over elements. Still don't know very well how it works, but I imagine it's just for calculating offsets and stuff like that. It just shows the value. It doesn't do anything, it just shows the value. I'm not really sure how that works on C++. Maybe I should research later. Which is the, like, how does it unpack on C++ from the hash map to this? Maybe there's something on the hash map. Because some parts of the C++ source codes from Godot uses on other classes, uses iterator classes to iterate over elements. I guess this is probably what is making this happen. So pretty sure Godot has this class. got this from ChatGPT's answer, but I didn't use yet. Things don't singularly check underline box. Singularly check underline box. Yeah, sorry. Maybe that's why, because some time ago I copied the classes that they have on the editor to create the inspector thing, and I changed the name. Just I create another class that has basically the same thing just copied, and then I just changed the name to make it work. And I just saw there now that I have one of these for the checkbox, and I vaguely remember something like this, that the checkbox was kind of weird or something like that. Not sure if it's a different class maybe, because I think that this is not. Let's see where inherits from bottom. I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT to see if there's an easy answer. So I'm basically just trying to see how do I create an element that is gonna be checked based on whether or not the thing is visible. And I'm thinking about the ones that you have on the browser. Obviously, I wanna do this here, or create checkbox elements and add as child of checkbox container. The thing is, how do I'm gonna, I guess you can, so I should probably have another variable on this cluster. Because I think probably what I'm gonna have to do is connect the class with a signal, and then like bind the node name probably, and update the hash map here. So this is gonna bind this as an argument. So I'm pretty sure that this is not gonna send any information. I think it's a signal from the button class. So it's from the base button. So it admits whether or not it is true. It is pressed. So the first one is gonna be Boolean. Then I bind the other one. And then I update the hash map. Then I have another thing on the signal that I send the. Yeah. That should be a dictionary. A dictionary is just the easiest way. I avoid using dictionary because of the types. You add a signal here. Just gonna. Then on the other one, I'm gonna connect to this on the dockball layout. And then I'm gonna send the dictionary, then I just loop over the dictionary. I'm just gonna copy the way that Godot recommended to loop over, because it doesn't really matter that much. Because there's never gonna be a situation where there's like too many docs. Because as soon as that's the case, then it just indication that I should move everything or move parts of the scene to a class. So I think that's yeah. Yeah, I have to see on the confirm. It's gonna be on the other accept dialog, I think. The signal. I think it's yeah confirmed. Signal confirmed. It doesn't sound with anything. I have to create a function first. So inside of the constructor, I do need to use the flag, because the flag is just for building the scene on one runtime and then rebuilding from the scene file. Now, since the constructor of this class is gonna run regardless of the environment, then I know that's gonna initialize the signal regardless. So it's not necessary to save on the scene file. So I think that's I was It's basically this pattern here. Should loop over a dictionary. So the key is this string name. So I think I can get from the. It's easier to get from the doc. Not sure if that's better or is more reliable to get from the tree. It's probably more reliable to get from the tree, even though it's not very good. But it's like the difference shouldn't be that much, I think. I'm just gonna use a find child. Oh, because based on these changes that I made, the dockable layout is basically gonna be the roots on everything. So it's gonna be the roots, and inside of this, it's gonna have the variable which is layout flexible roots, which determines the place where the docks are gonna be. Then the rest of the scene is still gonna be a child of this dockable layout class, but it's gonna be the fixed parts of the scene. Then the variance of them is gonna be on the navbar and on the layouts, and obviously the fixed nodes. Those are the 3 points of variance. And then beyond that, which I'm gonna do outside of the class probably, is just to put different components on the put different children's on the containers. And I think that the fixed parts are gonna depend on the layouts. So like, which I think is not gonna vary that much, because I think that the only thing that's maybe in the future I'll think about other stuff, but for now it's just the icon sidebar. There's like a fixed part that I might decide to include or not include depending on the scene. So I think I can use add child or find child here. I was using here. And this one I was using because of I think this is the pop-up before, but I decided to leave it here because it doesn't matter that much. It's basically because of the difference that's the different the thing that is confusing about the class is this, that like one part of the class is for building the scene off the runtime of the application, and then the other part of the class is for managing the state of the scene at the time that is running. So in order to bootstrap the state from the variants, I put everything on the notification ready. And I think that's gonna be good enough to work. So because of that, in order to bridge the gap between what is the layout root on the moment I build the scene and what is the layout root in the moment that the scene is gonna run, I have to use this thing here. So yeah, because even though I'm setting the variable in the moment that I create the layout, it's not gonna be the same because this function is only gonna run when I build the scene from C++. But I think this way works. So I find the child based on the key. The key is the string name, and then the value is gonna be whether or not it is working or it is visible. I have to see how to lock nodes. I don't remember if it's sats or Set tabs visible. I think I can get from the hash new stop states. I don't remember even all. Let's over the keys. That's huge. The other one I'm getting like this, so I'm just gonna do the same thing here. So from dictionary, put the key, get the value. I think this is the reason why I don't like using the hash map, because there could be a mistake on getting the value here. And now I'm not really sure if I should check there, but I think I'm gonna leave it like this. I should probably, I think it's probably better to use the key instead of the doc name, because it's gonna translate later anyway. So I'm gonna compile, see, for sure. I think that the dialog probably doesn't have this. So I'm gonna put on the checkbox. You should use the key instead. Yes, I think it matters. Hmm. Maybe I typed wrong. And this one I don't get why it's not working. It should be. Maybe it's because of their inheritance or something like this. So I should put on the initialize. This is the one that I'm not sure if I should. The way that I'm doing now is working for the docs. I'm just doing based on the name of the first doc on the scene to put the contents of the icon sidebar. I think that's good enough. Well, actually, I'm not sure if I should change this as well because now, since I'm going to initialize the icon sidebar on the dockable layouts, there might be a different way. But I think it's probably not. There isn't a straightforward forward way because I'm gonna be building the scene from C++. So I still need to save. Like if I made it based on a variable, uh, or if I set based on a function, the nodes that is gonna have the contents, I would still need to save some information as a variable in the class to serialize on the sync file. I think it doesn't change much. I have to change the name, but so let's see. Yeah, so it didn't do anything. Hmm. Oh, I have to pop up. Forgot to. So I'm gonna copy from the other one. Now I have to do this. And put it on a much smaller see, like this. So in order to implement drag and drop on the icon sidebar, I'm gonna have to use the macro and then pass an instance of the class. And I think I already did the beginning of this, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think the main thing that I have to see is how to know if the class is gonna be dropped at the other side of the screen. I think that it's gonna be a problem because it's gonna fall into the same situation from the type container, where I'm gonna have to override the other nodes drag and drop functionality, so it's not gonna be easy unless I find a way to put inside of the layouts, to make a margin or something, like I make another spots on the other side of the scene, and then based on that I create the logic. But I think that's not very good. Because the problem is that it depends on the layout, the way that it is gonna work. So like I can't predict what's gonna be, what components are gonna be on the other side. So it kind of forces me to. I think for that reason, I'm probably gonna leave it the way that it is there. And then maybe I compromise and I do the same thing that I'm doing here now. Just try to create options on the navbar to connect based on signals, and then I can like change the position of this based on that. But I think that for this situation, it would also be, it wouldn't be very good. Nice. So it works. Okay. Didn't work. So yeah, I guess it's because I'm not changing the state. So I have to reset the state after the confirmed. That's what I have to do. But I think it's gonna work after I do that. Which is pretty nice. So I think that the reason why this is happening is because of this. I'm not cleaning this up. It's clear or something like this. But then the issue is if I clear this, I'm gonna test now. Let's see what happens. The problem is like I think that the moment that I send the signal is gonna copy the dictionary on the mid signal. So the function that receives as a callback is gonna receive the copy. So it doesn't matter if I clean this. It's not gonna interfere with the other one. But if it does, then I'm gonna try to use call deferred. Because call deferred puts the function, the callback function, on the message queue. And the message queue is gonna run somewhere on the process part of the cycle. When it's calling the process function from the operation system, that is gonna loop over the sync tree. And I think either before or after, I don't remember exactly the points, but it's going to. The problem is that you can only see on the runtime because of the abstraction. So I can't, if I press F12 here on VS Code, which usually goes to the definition, it's not gonna go to the correct one. But I think that's is basically this message queue here. It puts on a message queue, but I think it's gonna process the message queue on the inside of this function here. After it calls this, it's gonna call the process on the sync tree, I think. And then on the sync tree is going to handle the messages. But maybe it's here. It might be this function actually. And it calls the callbacks using this. And let me. Yeah, I think that's probably right. So on the other parts, I'm not doing. Here, I'm not doing anything. So I built this one from the docs, then I put there, and this one's gonna receive the dictionary from the other one. And loops other key. So I'm not changing anything on the actual doc layout. Just using the information from the other one to change the state. It's gonna be save this. Why is this happening? I think like I can put a function there, but maybe we should clear this after I send. But like I'm creating the variable here, so you should call the destructor after the function runs. So it's probably not this. It has to be something here. This one loops over and adds here. It's probably because I'm not removing the children. Yeah, I'm not removing the children from this. So what is the easiest way to this? You should just... The easiest way is gonna be this, I think. This is the last thing that I'm gonna check. I'm gonna stop streaming. So I'm probably not gonna, for the reasons that I talked about, I'm not gonna implement this, I think. I'm just gonna move on to the other stuff. It's not that matters that much. I think what I'm gonna do is just create a button that hides the icon sidebar, if the layout has it. Because that's probably good enough. And like I said before, I think it's better now to focus on closing the loop and building everything, all the elements on the scene. And once I have the elements, I'm gonna try to use the scene. And once I use, I'm gonna see what stuff is like higher on the rank of things that I need to do to make this very useful. Oh, there's also, so I just remember now. So yeah, I think after I do this stuff, I'm gonna have to, so there's both navbars, then there's themes. But I think the main one is gonna be shortcuts. This is the priority that I have to do. But like this is gonna be very hard, I think. So I'm gonna have to spend a bunch of time thinking about this. The reason why that is hard is because like if you create that's the reason why I'm going to study from the editor. So if you create the shortcuts based on a class, then obviously it's impossible to know if those shortcuts are gonna override other components of the thing after. But then if you make it like a centralized thing, then there's no way to like know because it depends on the class. So the question is like, how do you determine what each component's gonna have? How do you resolve the conflict between different components wanting to use the same hash or same shortcuts? That's the main thing that I'm kind of confused by. But the way that I'm thinking about doing this is implementing like an option, maybe settings or something on the navbar, and then just doing the same thing that I'm doing now with this, and then putting options for like standard shortcuts like VS Code and Vim, and probably VS Code and Vim actually. And I think I have to make it based on the selection or the focus of the elements so that I can free up shortcuts whenever the text editor is not selected. There's still... Why is this happening? This is the ones that I changed. So I changed the name. So it's very weird. Maybe it's because no, but it shouldn't be. This is like it's not very fast, sure. There's also the question that is kind of Monav test is what happens when there isn't a tab and then I put the default tab there and then I change the visibility of the tabs after that. But I think it doesn't matter that much because it's just reflecting the state of the class. So I'm pretty sure that's gonna work. Just wanna understand why this is working, why this is not working. It should be equal here, but I think probably not. It might be because of this. But if it was because of that, you would add another one every time that you unchecked. So it must be something else. Is after you remove. Maybe it's because of the call deferred thing. Could delete the class and then initialize over. Maybe if I clear here when it makes. I'm gonna try this one. So I'm gonna try this and then stop streaming if it doesn't work. Or either way, I'm gonna stop streaming. No, think about off stream if it doesn't work. If it does work, I'm just gonna think about the other stuff here. What to do next. Probably is gonna be. I'm gonna start studying this other class here. Try to build the other parts of the scene. I think I will put the shortcuts on the middle. So I do the scene file first, and after I do the scene file, I study the shortcuts. Because I do wanna put shortcuts. Maybe actually not. I think I'm gonna finish the whole scene. It's gonna be the shortcuts is gonna be related to the settings things that I talked about as well. So it might be like some more complicated thing, I think. And like it's gonna be easier to think about once I have like an example of a scene, the whole scene. It's gonna make it easier to think about how to design the shortcuts. I should probably focus on finishing this scene. And then to finish the scene, I'm just gonna study the classes on Godot, and then I'm gonna do the same that I did for the other ones. Just gonna copy the copy them as a template and then change to make it work for what I'm trying to do. I'm probably gonna connect the classes through signals. It doesn't work. So like I could check to see if the hash map already has value, but I don't wanna do that because this indicates that there's probably something wrong with the logic. So I'm gonna check the logic first. It wouldn't make sense that changing the state would add additional docs. That doesn't make any sense. So it's really weird. Maybe if I move, so last thing to try, move this stuff to here to remove all the nodes, but I think that's probably, it wouldn't work. I'm gonna stop streaming now. I'm gonna go over with the debugger to see what is going on. But I think it shouldn't be that hard to solve, and then it's gonna be fixed. So I'm gonna solve this off stream. And that next time that I stream, I'm just gonna remove this stuff here because of the thing that I said. It's not worth to think about this now. So next time that I stream, I'm probably gonna study this nodes here. So there's actually 3 different nodes, but I'm going to when it gets time to try to implement the third, which I think is gonna take a lot more time, I'm going to think about whether or not to focus on this first. Oh, the other thing that I have to do on the navbars is to see if I can remove the thing that comes built in with Windows, which is the X button, is this thing here. Because on VS Code, they were able to remove this, and I asked ChatGPT some time ago, and it seems that Godot has a way to remove this as well. So obviously, I think it's better to remove this, because then it frees up space. So the navbar is on the same level of this things here, and frees up space for the whole thing. And there's another thing that I have to do. I'm probably gonna put this after this. But I'm gonna focus on studying this things here first. So yeah, see you next